All right, now for some insights into the G20 summit, we have Chair Professor of Suzhou University, Victor Gaujkai, in our studio, and via Skype from Jakarta is Senior Research Associate and Indonesia Financial Group Progress, Dr. Ibrahim Kholilul Rohman. Welcome, gentlemen, to Global Watch. I'll start with you, Victor. The G20 Bali Leaders Declaration was just out, and it touches on a wide range of global issues, as we just reported, such as security, food supply and energy. And the G20 summit has also called for more coordinated actions and also an enhancement in global governance. So what do you think is particularly needed for global coordination?
First of all, allow me to give a high praise and compliment to the Indonesian president and the Indonesian government for excellently hosting this G20 summit in Bali against lots of pressure points and against a lot of headwind created by several countries in the world. And the G20 did conclude with a big bang of success. Now, I think this summit really demonstrated in very eloquent terms that G20 is exactly what's needed as an international framework for promoting cooperation and overcoming differences. Because the world right now is faced with a whole series, a multitude of crises of all kinds. And only through G20 and cooperation of the G20 members that the world will be in a better position to overcome these crises and prevent a major recession hitting many countries in the world. And without unity at G20, it will be a much more difficult job to do for the international community to emerge out of this multitude of crises as a successor. And I think, again, the Indonesian government and in particular the President of Indonesia need to be complimented for their excellent way of organizing and hosting the G20 summit. And we are all very grateful for this wonderful G20 summit in Bali.
Right, and Dr. Rohman, as Victor just said, we are now facing a huge amount of challenges globally, hence the summit theme, recover together, recover stronger. And the G20 declaration also calls nations to undertake tangible, precise, swift and also necessary actions and to use all available policy tools to revive global economy. So you see the two words used, recover, revive. How do you see this appeal from the summit?
Right. It's very interesting to see how the G20 leaders, amidst the current situations, was able to come up with 52 points, which is called as Bali declarations. Even though, as we see, the pointers are touching upon more, general aspect and general idea, but it should be appreciated that it has been encompassing several issues related to the awareness of common agreement, common understanding related to potential crisis, food energy crisis, the need to ensure financial stability, and then the need to stop war and ensure peace for everybody. And some part of the points is also touching upon stability with regards to the health issues, digital transformation and financial inclusion, taxation, and leveraging the position of private sector to increase investment. So while it is not really, kind of G20 communique as we usually see from previous G20 meeting, I think the 52 points from the Bali Declaration is something we have to be grateful about. If we take into consideration the whole circumstances leading to the meeting, and if we also see the side effect, the side event of the meeting, we also should be very grateful with some initiatives related to energy transition mechanism, for instance, that allows developing countries like Indonesia and other southern countries to embrace into Paris Agreement of zero emission by 2060 without necessarily spending the whole effort and funding, because it's too much expensive for developing countries. And the last one, which I also very appreciated, it should be appreciated, is the initiative for pandemic fund, which is currently reaching about it has been contributed by 20 G20 member, and it's already accumulated about 14 billion US dollars, which is big money to support potential pandemic in the future.
Right, and China and Indonesia has developed very benign cooperation indeed, with a lot of achievements in bilateral cooperation, such as the Jakarta-Bandung Highway. It's a landmark project of the Belt and Road Initiative. How do these achievements mean for South-South cooperation?
Right. I think Indonesia is always an important partner for China because we are the largest economy in ASEAN countries and among the largest in the Southern Hemisphere. So the speed train is one of the monumental cooperation between countries, but looking back and looking from helicopter view, trade and investment is the most important catalytic. China is one of the largest, if not the largest, destination of Indonesia's exports, amounting about 23% by 2021. And also China is the source of Indonesia's import, roughly about 28% by last year. So if we sum up together, and if we also take into consideration that China has been contributing to about $3 billion foreign direct investment in 2021, which is about 10% of the total FDI in Indonesia. So Indonesia is seen as strategic partner, and the position of China is mirroring this, that both countries should collaborate more in the future. While the speed train is one of the monumental cooperation, but there are a lot of potential that we can open up in the future from technology, education, research, and development, so that not only that we are using Chinese technology, but also there will be some process to leverage our position, Indonesia's position, to also learn how to create and how to conduct, how to establish technological development in the country.
Right, and Victor, Dr. Rohman just touched upon a little bit about the future of China-Indonesian cooperation, and China and Indonesia have actually issued a joint statement which lays out the fields where the two major developing countries will further cooperate. How do you see the future trend of bilateral cooperation?
From the Chinese perspective, we attach utmost importance to China-Indonesian friendship and cooperation. The fact that Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world, the largest member of ASEAN, and also Indonesia has the largest overseas Chinese diaspora. All these factors combine together to make it absolutely necessary for China to engage with Indonesia on equal footing. We treat each other as brothers and sisters, and China's good relations with Indonesia is also a good reflection of the fact that China can deal with the Muslim world and the Muslim community everywhere in the world on equal footing. And this is very important for a big country, an increasingly important country like Indonesia. And again, the fact that Indonesia government and the Indonesian president successfully conducted and hosted the G20 summit this time demonstrated that Indonesia is truly a global power in a sense, and there will be a lot of expectation that Indonesia can pick up more global responsibilities and can really be an important bridge between the Muslim world on the one hand and the rest of the global community on the other hand. And the greater success that Indonesia can accumulate in the future years will also be a source of great pride for people here in China, because we are, after all, neighbors. We are very much connected by the South China Sea, and our exchanges over the millenniums, for example, can also be good foundation upon which these two governments can really spend a lot of time and resources and wisdom to further boost and promote their bilateral relations. Now, the distinguished Indonesian guest talked about China as a manufacturing country. Yes, China is the largest manufacturing country in the world. And I think going forward, I hope China can share more manufacturing capabilities, knowledge, know-how, special technical specialties, for example, with their counterparts in Indonesia, to make sure that both countries are winners of the next wave of industrialization and high-tech development.
I think Dr. Rohman has also pointed out, has also said that in terms of high technology, there is a big potential for bilateral cooperation between China and Indonesia as well. That's a very important field to deepen bilateral relations. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Victor Gao Zhikai, Chair Professor of Suzhou University, and Dr. Ibrahim Kholilul Rohman, Senior Research Associate at Indonesia Financial Group Progress. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your insights.
Thank you.